I didn't even get a chance to say good afternoon, welcome to Indy. You didn't give me an opening moment. I just wanted to see that everyone had their stuff. Yeah. Um, we know Carson, and we know what kind of teammate he is. We know what kind of leader he is. You know, it's ironic because as we've gone through free agency since we've had Carson, there have been so many guys who've wanted to come to Philly to play with him. None of that is any issues to us. We're incredibly excited about having him as our quarterback and excited about this season.
Howie, you have a lot of moving parts on your offensive line right now with Brandon recovering from his Achilles, Jason considering retirement, and JP, 38 years old. With regard to Kelsey, have you heard from him?
37.
37. With regard to Kelsey, have you heard or talked to him about that? And where do you stand with regard to Pederson coming back for another season?
Well, first, it's always going to be a priority for us to make sure that our offensive line starts with protection. We're going to show that with our actions as well as our words. In terms of any individual players, we keep those conversations with them private. It's important to us to be able to have honest conversations with our players and keep that all in-house. You know, we've been so fortunate over the last couple of years to have two top 15 quarterbacks in Carson and Nick. And we've spent a lot of time discussing this internally and with him. And we've decided to let Nick become a free agent.
What went into that decision?
A lot. You know, it's hard when you have someone who's incredibly valuable to your organization at the most important position in sports. And at the same time, we've had incredible success with him when he's had to play. 4 playoff wins over the last 2 years. Great teammate, a huge resource for Carson and Nate Sudfeld as well. But at the same time, he deserves an opportunity to lead a team. It's a goal of his to lead another team and lead another locker room. And we feel at this point that it's the right decision.
Did you explore a trade possibility?
No, you know, I don't really want to get into any trade discussions with any teams, but this decision was made. You know, the Combine's an opportunity to talk to teams. This is really our version of the baseball winter meetings and talk about trades. We made this decision as an organization, and we feel very comfortable about it. Again, you know, hard decision because someone who means a lot to us professionally and personally. But at the end of the day, as an organization, we felt like it was the right thing to do.
Howie, just from a rules perspective, with the language around the franchise tag, would that have been an option that would be available to you that you're comfortable with the tag and trade? Or?
Yeah, I don't want to get into any hypotheticals on that, but you know, for us, you know, this is a decision we made. I think that we have our interpretation of rules and what we can do. But at the end of the day, it's not going to factor in anyway, so I think it would just be a waste of time talking about that. You know, we're going to explore every option on our football team to improve our football team. But we have a lot of confidence in Nate. He's had an incredible opportunity to learn from 2 of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. And this is a big opportunity for him, a big year for him. We're really excited about Nate Sudfeld.
To go back to the offensive line, Jason is 37, as you said. In terms of eventually replacing him, how do you view Mailata and Vita in that capacity?
Yeah, and I think you also have to add in Matt Pryor, you know, a guy who played tackle and we drafted last year. Those guys need opportunities. They need to continue to grow. It's important for us and our coaching staff, and Coach Pederson and staff deserve a lot of credit for this, to develop our players that we draft. They all have talent, but we also have to make sure that we continue to add players at that position because it's such an important position.
With Peters, how do you evaluate him at his age and determine whether or not he's still going to be a valuable player at his age?
Yeah, he's not a normal human being. I mean, he is a freak. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer as a player, as a person. So normal rules don't apply when it comes to Jason. But again, I just go back to everyone on our team, anyone who's a free agent, anyone we have decisions on. You know, those are discussions we'll have with those players individually.
When you're talking about these guys who've been so valuable to the franchise and having to make tough decisions, when you were kind of coming up through the ranks, was there an example or a lesson you learned about kind of how to deal with that type of situation that's different than your everyday decisions?
That is such a loaded question. I think that the hardest thing we have to do is separate the emotion from it. And quite frankly, we're an organization led by our owner and led by our head coach that emotion plays a part in some of the decisions we make. We get attached to our players because they do so much for us. And I don't know that that's ever going to go away as long as this leadership's in place and as long as, we're led by Jeffrey and Coach Pederson. So we try to balance those things, but it's hard. It's hard. And in this day and age, it's hard also for guys to spend their whole career with one team. There is a lot of player movement, but I can tell you that with all the evaluation we do, and we do a lot of subjective and objective evaluations of our players, that at the end of the day, those things don't matter. Yeah, we're incredibly optimistic about all our guys that are injured, but don't want to get into any individual timetables for any guys recovering from injury.
How do you view Nelson Aguilar?
I'm going to get Mike for a second. Again, conversations with our players. We try to communicate with all our players and just kind of save those answers for when they're ready to make announcements or we're ready to make announcements, so not being specific on Darren. I don't know who wouldn't want a guy like Darren Sproles on their football team.
How do you view Nelson Aguilar?
Nelson Aguilar has been an incredibly productive player for us. It's great when your draft choices are productive, and he's got an incredible work ethic, a great skill set, and just continues to grow.
How do you view free agency this year compared to the importance of the draft that you guys have 9 years coming up like that? Is that more of a source for getting players for you this year as opposed to free agency?
Yeah, I don't know that we look at them as independent entities. I think we look at kind of the whole, all the opportunities to add players, whether that's in free agency or the draft or the trade market, and try to do whatever we can to improve our football team. That's our goal. We have a lot of work to do here. It starts in Indy. We're really excited about being here and improving our football team, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to try to improve our football team. We want to continue to give our coaches talented players and continue to win games.
How much of what you do this offseason will be in mind with Carson's eventual extension, whether it comes this year or next, whenever?
Mm-hmm.
How much do you have to keep that in mind when you're doing this?
For sure. All the young players that you have under contract that you've drafted, you want to keep in mind the possibilities of extending them and keeping them. But at the same time, we're going to try to improve our football team.
I mean, from the standpoint of Carson's obviously going to require a larger portion of the salary cap eventually. Do you have to keep that in mind?
For sure. You have to plan, and you have to plan knowing that you have an extremely talented quarterback and that you want to have a guy at that position. But at the same token, there are going to be opportunities to improve our team, even taking that into account.
Last year you were kind of restricted on cap-wise going into free agency on what you could do. This year, depending on how you handle your free agents and other players, you appear to have the flexibility to do pretty much whatever you want in free agency. Do you expect to be aggressive this year in free agency?
I expect us always to be aggressive in every aspect. That's kind of who we are, and with that, obviously there come risks, but we're not going to be risk adverse. If there's an opportunity to improve our football team, we'll do that. But like you said, we have the flexibility. We're not going to use the cap as an excuse, but we're also going to try to be smart about it.
Howie, with the focus on compensatory picks, does that make it more desirable to make trades as opposed to pursuing free agents?
Yeah, again, it goes back to the value of the trade, and those compensatory picks are added bonus for us, and we look at that when we are trying to decide who we're signing in free agency, who we're retaining, who we're not. But at the end of the day, we just want to add good players that fit our culture, and that's what we'll continue to try to do here.
What factor into keeping the cloud, and are you expecting to help
These are going to be all UVA questions from you, Zach. Rodney has been an incredibly valuable player since we signed him as a free agent. Great work ethic, fits our defensive system and our scheme, and we're excited about bringing him back to Philadelphia.
How do you plan around the possibility of guys retiring? You do have to plan ahead of
Yeah, we don't look at the roster in just a one-year window. So we're continually trying to evaluate where we are not only this year, but next year and even 3 years out, and just kind of anticipating some of that. But by the same token, so much happens from a year-to-year basis that it's hard to anticipate some of those things. So you try to maintain your priorities, make sure they're addressed, and that you're never in a situation where you're falling back from the things that you really believe in, and keep the main thing the main thing. Well, I think there's different ways to skin a cat. You know, we won a world championship 2 years ago, and we got LeGarrette in free agency in May, and traded for Jay, and I had traded for Darren Sproles at that time, and then had some late picks and undrafted free agents that work out. But at the end of the day, we're not going to force any particular position just because of perceived need, and we'll kind of evaluate that position just based on the value of each particular player.
Two more questions, please.
The final four teams this
Whoa.
year, I think, for the 5 best offenses, you have to sort of
He leads the league in questions, I think.
both
It's right in front.
do you have to tilt sort of your team building philosophy towards offense a little bit in terms of resources?
I don't know, Coach. What do you think? What do you think? Offense, defense? What do you? Got to make the man happy. Was that the? Do you guys want to take a poll of what your last question you'd like to be, and then I'll answer? It'll be like, is that crowdsourcing, Brandon? Is that what that's called? Yeah.
How the front office works.
It's like your football team. I mean, when you have an opportunity to add an incredibly talented person at his craft, and then someone who fits into the chemistry that you're trying to bring in, you don't get those opportunities very often. Really excited to add Andrew, someone that we kind of have had our eye on for a long time. We know what kind of person he is first and foremost, and what he could add. But it's not a reflection of anyone and their particular roles. It's just a unique opportunity for us to add someone who fits kind of the thought process that we have, and we're really excited that we're adding him.
What's his role?
He's the vice president of football operations, and in that role, Jeffrey has said this, has articulated this better than anyone, and it's just these jobs that you have, there's a lot that goes on, and obviously the most important thing is improving our roster and making sure we have the right players, and he'll be a part of that, but also looking at decision making and every area of football ops, and that's the performance area, that's innovation in video. I could go on and on, but the job is multifaceted, and there's a lot of time that we spend doing things other than just improving the roster, and he can help in every area. He's very versatile, very talented.
Okay, thanks, guys. We got to get Doug up here.
Very versatile. Very talented.
Appreciate it.
Good afternoon.
What was your impression of Dallas Goedert? Was it a challenge to find a way to get him more involved when you have other talented pass catchers?
Dallas, obviously being our first pick a year ago in the second round, really was a guy that came on as the season went along. Dallas is a tremendous worker, hard studier. Justin Peel did a great job getting him prepared each week. We saw the skill set obviously through tape study, and then through the off-season program and training camp. And when you have a number of sort of targets on offense, it becomes a challenge. It becomes a challenge to get everybody the ball, and then you got to include your running backs. And yet we still found ways to get him involved. I think that's going to it's been a source of topic for us as a coaching staff, moving forward with him, and he's a big piece to our success, on the football field.
Are you comfortable with Nate?
Nate's done a great job. Nate has really put himself in a position to compete for it. We just don't go around and give out jobs, but at the same time, we want him to compete for that spot. I feel like he's earned the opportunity to do that. I'm comfortable with him, what he's done, what he's been with us now for a few years and understands our system. So yeah, it's a matter of him just embracing that and moving forward with it. Not necessarily. I think it can go both ways. I mean, you've seen what we've done the last couple of seasons, really since I've been here. We had Chase Daniel the first year, then of course Nick the last 2 years. Chase didn't have a ton of, obviously, game experience. Nick had, and when you're kind of have that quarterback in the waiting, so to speak, in a guy like Nate who's seen a lot of football the last couple of years, it's a great opportunity for him. So you can kind of go either way. You can kind of go with a younger guy. You can kind of bring in a veteran free agent, but at the same time, I want Nate to compete for it and see where he's at.
What about Nate's skill set?
Well, I think number one, he's obviously I like his size. He's got a really good arm. He's accurate. Continues to work his mobility, his pocket presence, his awareness. I think one of the things we saw this year, even though he was limited, obviously not many game reps, but the stuff we saw in practice is how well he's really become comfortable with our offense, how he prepares our defense, during the course of the week. And he's a smart quarterback. I mean, he's highly intelligent. He's got great ideas, and again, somebody that we feel comfortable with competing for that number 2 spot.
Doug, did you find it to be an issue that players moving up to speak out about Carson?
Well, I mean, listen, we know how we all feel about Carson. Carson's our quarterback. I love everything about Carson Wentz and the way he attacks his job every single day, the way he competes, the way he embraces the locker room, and so I don't put a lot of weight in that, a lot of stock in that. I mean, it's his performance on the football field, obviously, and he understands where he's at. He understands he's got to stay on the field. Obviously, he knows that, but at the same time. Guys really rally around him. They support him. And he's one piece. He's not the entire football team. And, we do this thing as a team, and he's a part of that.
You said is there anything that he can do better in terms of his relationship?
I think what he's doing and what he's been doing kind of speaks for itself. The guys really respect him. His play on the football field, obviously, is the ultimate factor. I think that's where guys can rally around him and what he's shown us in 3 seasons. And listen, when you're the guy, you touch a lot of people, and you got to continue to touch a lot of people and reach out to a lot of people. And no different in my case, as the head football coach, I got to continue to build relationships and just bring those along. So he's the quarterback, and we just continue to grow together in that realm.
Were you surprised by the story, or did you think it was?
Those are things we'll discuss as the offseason goes. Jason's been a big part of our success and been around him for a lot of years now. So those are things we'll talk about as we move forward. I tell you what, Nick and I, we've got a lot of history together, all the way back to when we drafted him. When I was on Coach Reed's staff here in Philly, and so, we had conversations obviously at the end of the season, and he knew where I stood and how I felt about him, but at the same time, he was a tremendous, obviously a huge part of our success these last 2 years, but again, a lot like in Carson's case, he was one piece of the puzzle, and it's an opportunity now, as Howie mentioned, to become a starter in this league, and he's very capable of doing that, and I'm excited for his future.
Doug, getting back to JP, he started all 16 games last year, but he missed 20% of snaps because all the injuries. If he wants to play another year, do you want him back?
Jason Peters is a big value. He's a valuable part of our offense and our offensive line. If Jason Peters, it's a lot like Darren Sproles. I mean, we're kind of going down the same path with Darren Sproles. If these guys want an opportunity, you love both of them, and you give them an opportunity. Jason, I feel still has some opportunity for us, and we'll see where it goes. We'll see how it ends up. But, I think in Jason's mind right now, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think he feels like, too, getting healthy and being 100%, going into the off season, going into training camp. He was coming off of that injury, obviously, and it's tough to play like he did. To battle through that injury every single week, and then the soreness and the different things is a credit to him. So moving forward, those are conversations we'll continue to have with him.
Carson, are there parts about his personality that you could see rubbing other folks a certain way? Are those things he can correct?
You rub me the wrong way.
I get that. But are those things there, and are they things he can change, or is that just part of his personality?
I learned too when I was a player in this business. I played with one of the greatest players of. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback in Brett Favre and Dan Marino, and you know what? They had success because you're not always going to be buddy with everybody. Do you build relationships with everybody? Yeah, but you hold everybody to a high standard, including myself, and we're not in a feel-good business. We're obviously in a business to win games and ultimately a championship, and that's our goal. And so, if people get offended, I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. And you can't make excuses for it. But at the same time, at the end of the day, we walk out on the football field. We're united, and we play the game.
You said before that Carson obviously has strong opinions when it comes to game planning and scheme. How did you and him work through that, or continue to work through that? Where does that need to get so that it's a productive relationship and back and forth?
Yeah, I think that's one of his strengths, obviously, and for him to be able to come to me, come to Mike Groh, with ideas, with things that can help us win the game. I mean, that's what we're all about. It's about being open, being honest, being transparent. Not that we have to accept every idea that he brings, to the table, but at the same time, we're going to listen. If we can implement it in the game plan, we will. If not, maybe we'll save it for the next week. But I think that's one of the strengths that as a play caller, you got to kind of crawl into the head of the quarterback a little bit and kind of see it through his eyes. So having these conversations with him during the week really gives me, as a play caller, a good insight as to how he's also seeing, our opponent that week. What's that? There's time. First of all, the guys that I had on staff that I let go, I appreciate, and I'll say this publicly, appreciate everything that they did for me, the Philadelphia Eagles, the organization. And there's times where, as a staff, as a coach, you need to make some change, and it's a great opportunity for him to continue his career, obviously. Same with Coach Chung and Coach Brew, and to give them an opportunity. And so I thank them for what they did for me, what they did for our organization, help us win a championship.
How much would a consistent open up your ability to bring up the offense?
I think there's many ways to open up your offense, not just having a vertical speed guy. Every team can drop back and just throw it deep. I mean, there's ways of being creative. There's ways of utilizing play-action pass. There's ways of creating a gadget-type play, whether it be a flea flicker, things of that nature. But, yeah, ultimately, would you like to have a guy that can stretch the field? And you've seen that out of Nelson the last couple of seasons, and his opportunities to go deep. But anytime you can add talent, add speed, add depth to any position, it's going to help your team.
What you have is Carson Walsh. What did you see from them in the building that gave you
with Carson?
Carson Walsh?
In Philip's case, obviously he had a great career in this league as a defensive lineman. He's been with me now for 3 seasons. Been on Jim's staff for 3 seasons, and it's a great opportunity for him. I'm big about promoting from within, as you guys know, and it was his time. It's his time to take the reins of that group, and I'm excited for him. And his leadership and how he's going to continue to lead that group. Same with Carson. Carson, he's coached in this league before. Carson Walsh, he was with Coach Groh in Chicago. He's been around Alshon Jeffrey, so he knows our game. Been around us now for a year. He knows how we coach and how we teach and how we instruct. So I'm excited for him, and that's the type of leadership he brings.
With what you have in running back,
Josh Adams,
Josh, yeah, I was excited. I have been excited with Josh. I mean, he's a young player, obviously. You know, a kid that we had in camp, and then ultimately, you know, let him go, brought him back, and then we had to activate him, you know, due to injury. And you know, he's really embraced his role. I think this will be a really good offseason for him. You know, to continue to grow in our system, to get better as a runner, to listen to Coach Staley and what he's teaching. Showed some flashes last year, and so I'm excited for him, you know, moving forward.
Speaking of running back, with what you have there, do you think you'll be all right if you add like a rookie to that group, or do you really think you need like a strong veteran running back to come in and make that group strong?
Yes.
It was an or question.
Oh, it was. Oh, I'm sorry. I think you can go either way. I think you still got to continue to add talent. You got to add depth, value to your team. You know, and you've seen us do it in many ways these last couple of years. Howie alluded to it, you know, in his comments. You know, we won a championship with a rotational system. And I think, honestly, you know, you look at a lot of teams around the league, and, you know, they're usually a two-back type operation. So whether it's another veteran free agent or through the draft, those are things that we're going to explore in the next few months.
2 more questions, please.
Player this week? You know, this week is just a great opportunity for coaches, myself. You know, we haven't spent as much time with these guys, so, you know, obviously character is big in my opinion. You definitely want to see their skill set when they get on the football field, and then I think third is you know, a lot of it's kind of off the field. Their interaction with teammates, you know, and then you know, throw in a fourth. What do they know? How much do they know of their own system, offensively, defensively, and those kind of give us an insight to the players we see this week.
How do you look at Nelson Aguilar, the way he performed 2 years ago compared to last year, going forward?
Yeah, Nelson. Oh man, love this guy. I mean, he's first one in, last one out. You know, and he's a hard worker. Spends time before and after practice. So can't say enough good things about Nelson Aguilar and what he's brought to the table and what he will continue to bring. And you know, I think last year you look at the amount of guys we had, and of course we added Golden, you know, midseason, and you know, listen, I'm not going to stand up here and say it didn't affect Nelson because I think it did. You know, and trying to get it. You know, the question was asked earlier about getting everybody the ball, and it's a challenge. You know, when you break down a game, and yet Nelson didn't complain. He came to work every single day. He put in the time. He put in the work, and was a huge part of what we did and getting us into the divisional round, you know, this year. So I'm excited. Love working with him, and I think there's great things ahead.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.